So if you call yourself a Buddhist, then you need to exercise right speech. Here, I talk about the Noble Eightfold Path and the fact that wisdom is the forerunner of the path. So it enables us to practice well. And under wisdom, we need to have the foundation, and foundation is therefore sila, morality. And morality is important as it provides a necessary foundation, as I've stated, that will lead you to the cultivation of right insight wisdom. So we start with right speech. Now, and bhikkhus, what is right speech? Here, abstinence from, here, false speech, divisive, harsh, and idle chatter. Yes. So I have covered divisive speech and idle chatter. So today we're doing false speech. But I need to be able to explain to you, because we already have a break, why this abstinence in general. Now, let's look at communication. At the time, in the Buddha's time, right, spoken words was the only form of verbal communication for most people back then. Things are very different now. More channels for speech like the phone, FaceTime, Skype, Zoom, and video conferencing. Now that most people can read and write, we also have written communication in the form of letters, emails, social messaging through WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, etc., right? Verbal communication also includes the tone of the voice, facial expression, gestures. The word speech includes all these in today's world. My talks on right speech will be structured in this sequence. Avoid evil, do good, and purify the mind is the teachings of all the Buddhas. The standard definition on right speech, which deal with restraint, comes under avoiding evil. We will first look at why and how we exercise restraint, then how we can improve our verbal communication with others, and that is the do good part. And lastly, we will see how right speech plays a part in our mental cultivation as a whole. That will be another 2 talks. Now, most Buddhists consider themselves practitioners if they meditate. True Vipassana meditation is unique. Actually, it's a unique feature of Buddhism, not found in other spiritual practice. So how often do we meditate? And for how long? Then how about speech? How often do we practice right speech? Throughout the day, we spent a lot of time on business correspondence, meetings, idle chatter with family, friends and colleagues, not to mention socializing on WhatsApp, Instagram, emails, etc. In this case, why is right speech given so little attention compared to meditation? Who in this webinar has correctly practiced right speech as you understand it in the last 24 hours? For some people, abstaining from these 4 forms of speech means they do not have any freedom of speech. In this case, speaking without restraint or censorship. Worst, no more talking. In reality, right speech is extremely difficult to practice. In the last series of Dhamma Bites on right speech, essentially divisive and idle chatter, we explored the reasons why we found it hard to practice right speech in a correct, consistent manner. We will also first learn and understand the forces that shape unskillful speech that will make us tell lies. Then we will come up with ways to contain and control ourselves and improve morality, sila, as a whole. So let's start. Again, similarly, there are 8 segments. You can read on your own. Under item 4, understanding dishonesty, we are going to look at research and experiments done to study the psychology of dishonesty. So we start, as always, with the definition. You can read this. In summary, it is believing or knowing one thing while intending to communicate another that serves as every lie is born. A lie therefore carries with it the intention to deceive or mislead. When honest communication is expected from us, distortion or omission of facts is also considered lying because of their intention to deceive. Taking into consideration these three aspects of falsehood, which is falsification, distortion, and omission, musawada can be expanded to cover the spectrum of dishonest acts, such as those shown on this slide. Lies can be blatant or subtle, simple or elaborate, like forging documents, making promises you do not intend to keep, or keeping tactical silences can also be lying as long as you have the intention to deceive. Many of these forms, like for example, cheating, fraud, counterfeit, and impersonation, straddle both speech and action. Now, this quote should be familiar to you all, right, from the Metta Sutta. So when the word dishonesty or deception is used in the sutta, they refer to falsehood in both speech and action. Now, we know what is definition. Let us move on to the statistics on lying. The truth is, brothers and sisters, we are all quite prone to lying. Numerous studies point to a very widespread lying in our daily lives. The statistics which I'm going to show you are taken from a 2002 study by the University of Massachusetts, as well as a 2017 study by the Statistics Brain Research Institute, which I'm going to call SBRI. Okay, you can read this on your own. A UK study shows a more modest but still startling average of 10 lies a week. 31% was reported by SBRI. The research shows that women normally lie about their weight and men lie about their height, financial status, and educational qualifications. The figures certainly show that we lie quite a bit, and that's not all. The study involved more than 200 children between 3 and 5 years of age. And it was found that kids as young as 4 years of age are able to tell deliberate lies, and these abilities increases in sophistication with age. These statistics show us that we have a big capacity for dishonesty. Ironically, a study by the University of Toronto found that it's actually the most trusting people who are best able to tell when they are being lied to. Also, the better that you are at lying, the worse you are at detecting lies. Now, armed with the statistics, we now move on to understand why do people lie. As the Buddha pointed out, people like to serve their own needs for the sake of others and because lying helps them to achieve a goal or reward. Now let us look at this in more detail. You can read this on the screen. Whether we like to benefit ourselves or to benefit others, it all boils down to egotism, this sense of self. Everybody wants to be liked, to be admired, and to be respected. No one likes to lose face, so our lives are usually tied to self-esteem and self-preservation. Even when we lie to spare the feelings of others, it is usually done to ensure that the person maintains a good opinion of us or like us better. We have seen earlier that children start telling lies as early as 4 years of age. Who do you think they learn that from? How many of you here were told by our parents and grandparents that we have to behave or else the mata, the police, will come and catch us? How many of you were told that the stock brought to you and you will pick up from the longkao or the drain because our parents were too embarrassed to tell us about the birds and the bees? And how many of us believed in Santa Claus when we were young? Now, the truth is, we may knowingly or unknowingly teach children to tell lies, especially white lies, through examples, right? What they ultimately learn is that even though honesty is the best policy, lying at times is okay. The Dharma is about reality. And we know that as long as we are not enlightened, our deeds will be governed by lobha, dosa, and moha that is based on the sense of self. These greed, hatred, and delusion are the 3 roots of evil, and these 3 roots give rise to a myriad of defilements that comprises all the negative mental states, examples of which are shown here. Greed, hatred, and delusion are called underlying tendencies. They are present in us as long as we do not realize the 4 noble truths. So there is a mixture, is it not, of truth and lies in our lives, despite the Buddha giving us a clear moral framework of do's and don'ts. We are not arahants, so we cannot be expected to be 100% honest all the time, to be fair. It is not that we want to lie, after all. We were influenced from a young age to tell lies. And we get confused sometimes because the line between lies and truth is often not as clear as we would like. I'm going to show you some questions which I'm sure you have popped up in your mind at one time or another. You can read on the screen. To help answer these questions, I have taken the liberty of including some interesting facts compiled from a lab and public experiments that were conducted by Professor Dan Ariely and his team of researchers. The information is taken from his book. If you are interested, it's called The Honest Truth About Dishonesty: How We Lie to Everyone, Especially Ourselves. Also included are the conclusions he's made based on the result of his experiments. His findings and conclusions made will be examined vis-a-vis the Buddha's teachings. We will see how they all tie in together. This will help us better understand and appreciate what the Buddha taught. It will also help us better understand the mental machinery that works behind the scenes in our mind that makes us decide to be honest or not. Then we will come up with a workable solution on how to decrease dishonesty, which I will touch on next week. Next, we will move on to this topic, understanding dishonesty. Professor, Professor O'Reilly conducted a number, of experiments to determine the conditions under which people would cheat and how much. The standard experiment and one most frequently used is called the matrix experiment. Each participant received a sheet of paper containing 20 different metrics like this, and he had to find in each matrix 2 numbers that added up to 10. They were given 5 minutes to solve as many of the 20 matrices as possible. For each correct answer, he will get paid 50 cents. The matrix experiment also served as a controlled experiment where there is no room for cheating. All right, Brother Danny, do you see an interference in the middle of the screen?
Yes, Sister Siew Fong.
I try to get that removed first. Give me a while.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, it's gone now.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
I tried pressing earlier, but it just couldn't get rid of it. Okay.
It's okay.
Okay. Then I move on. Now, participants, they are involved in this experiment, solve an average of 4 out of 20 matrices, which reflects the average. For another test, participants were told to shred their worksheet at the back of the room before they tell the experimenter how many matrices they have solved and collect the reward. This means they can cheat. In this case, what do you think is the average number of matrices solved? 6 out of 20. So more experiments were conducted, and not all are matrix experiments, as they were modified accordingly to test some assumptions about dishonesty. Now, the first paradigm or assumption that was put to the test was this. The experiments varied the amount of reward from 25 cents all the way to $10 for each correct answer. The average score was about 6 out of 20 matrices. The amount of cheating was slightly lower when the reward was pegged at the highest amount of $10. Now, the second assumption that was put to the test was that the average score was this, right? But the average score was still 6 out of 20 matrices. Now, based on these experiments, Professor O'Reilly discovered that people are primarily driven by 2 opposing motivations. On the one hand, we want to think of ourselves as honest, honorable persons. We want to be able to look at ourselves in the mirror and feel good about ourselves. On the other hand, we want to benefit from cheating and get as much out of it as possible. Where do people draw the line? This is where our amazing rationalization comes into play. We reckon that as long as we cheat just a little, we can benefit from it, our sense of integrity is not threatened, and we can continue to see ourselves as decent human beings. So many people think that it is okay to cheat on parking coupons by 5 to 10 minutes. So when the opportunity arises, that's what we do. Most of us are like that. We are either blissfully unaware of how good we are at rationalizing, or we just do not want to admit it. Let's look at the summary of forces that shapes dishonesty. Ability to rationalize, conflicts of interest, creativity, one immoral act, being depleted, others benefiting from our dishonesty, watching others behave dishonestly, culture that gives examples of dishonesty. What has no effect? Amount of money to be gained, probability of being caught. If you want to cheat, you'll cheat. What decreases dishonesty? Pledge, signatures, moral reminders, and supervision. So we'll spend a little bit of time looking at the findings and conclusions for each factor to enable us to have a better grasp of things. First is this ability to rationalize. Let's look at some example. Let's say you get reimbursements for expenses incurred for business. Related meals, huh? So during an overseas trip, you met up with friends for lunch and paid for the meal. Then you realize that they can be potential clients. So you think you deserve the reimbursement because the potential client label justifies it. After all, giving them a treat and making them happy would have increased their client potential. And you will go on and on until you find a justification that sits well with you and others as well. In short, we all rationalize here and there, now and then, to the world and to ourselves. And when our own explanation makes us look good, all the better. The more easily we can rationalize our unskillful action, the greater the tendency to cheat and more comfortable we are with cheating. Next, conflict of interest. I will give you an example to illustrate this point. A dentist acquires an expensive new equipment and wants to make the most out of it. With it, he can improve patient care and at the same time charges his patients for the use. So he looks for reasons to use it and intentionally or unintentionally ended up recommending treatments which he might not have done otherwise. Patients end up with new crowns, veneers, implants, etc. Sometimes it is necessary and sometimes it is not. This conflict of interest to give better dental services on the one hand and to recover his investment on the other can color a dentist's professional judgment, leading him to make recommendations and decisions that it is in his own self-interest and not in the interest of his patients. Creativity. Why does it shape dishonesty? There was this experiment conducted by a university where they found that they put 4 pairs of nylon stockings placed side to side, and a group of women were asked to select one they like best. Generally, people choose the pair on the far right. And the reasons given? The quality is good. They like the texture, the color, the material. But what the women did not know is that all the pairs were identical. So what does this show us? We may not always exactly know why we do certain things and what we do, choose what we choose, or feel what we feel. But that does not stop us from coming up with seemingly rational reasons and arguments for our actions. Further tests also show a link between creativity and dishonesty. So the more creative we are, the greater our ability to come up with good stories to justify our dishonesty. So, next, one immoral act. That's all you need. You do wrong once, just one time, already the dishonest tendencies take shape. From Professor Riley's experiments, as well as the studies on the brain activity conducted by the University College London, it was found that our brain can adapt to dishonesty. Telling even small lies desensitizes the amygdala to the emotions like shame that's associated with dishonesty. That is why it is important to cut down these seemingly harmless acts of dishonesty, because that one act might be important in shaping the way the person looks at himself. Next, doing acts that employ a lot of energy, especially mental energy, wears down our willpower, making it easier to succumb to acts of dishonesty. This is something we should take note of because on a normal day, we are continually tempted and our ability to fight temptations and regulate our selfish desires weaken with time and accumulated resistance. So those of you who are on a diet, try not to go near food which you cannot eat after a long and trying day at work. Next, others benefiting from our dishonesty. When participants of an experiment learn that someone else would also benefit from their dishonesty, if they exaggerated their scores in a matrix experiment, they actually ended up cheating more. This is called altruistic cheating, and it happened even if they barely knew the other person. Next, cheating is infectious and can be increased by observing dishonest behavior of others around us. Moreover, the line between lies and truth sometimes unclear, and because of that, we can become susceptible to other people's perception of what's right and what's wrong. Next, in some cultures, certain dishonest acts like downloading illegal software, not paying taxes, plagiarism may be frowned upon, but in other cultures or countries, these dishonest acts may not be acceptable. A separate study involving 1,500 people from 15 countries showed that dishonesty tends to be greater in societies with a high degree of corruption, tax evasion, and political fraud. Sorry, what I meant earlier was in other societies, it may be more acceptable, and in others, not so acceptable. That's the difference. Under no effect, we have already covered these two factors, what increases dishonesty and what factors have no effect. So now look at what decreases dishonesty. Let us look at these three first. The experiment shows that doing something as simple as recalling moral standards like signing an honor code or a pledge not to cheat at the beginning of the experiment decreased dishonest behavior. This approach works even if those specific moral codes are not a part of our personal belief system. In other experiments, undergraduates were given a crash course on morality and then participated in a matrix experiment 2 weeks later. Cheating did not decrease. So for ethical codes to have lasting effect, there must always be consistent and timely reminders. A further test shows that these moral reminders are ultimately still no match for negative influence that comes from observing the misbehavior of others. Next, direct supervision can reduce dishonesty and even eliminate it altogether. However, experiments show that altruistic effect, altruistic cheating overpowers the supervisory effect when people put together in a setting where they have a chance to socialize and to know each other better. Now, why do we have to know all these? It is information that is not just good to know, but to some extent necessary, because without it, we may continue to let dishonesty manage us, and sometimes without us even knowing about. Now, with this knowledge, we can start learning how to manage dishonesty instead. And we will do so by using the benchmark set by the Buddha for right speech. But first, let us look at the gray areas in lies. We will cover these three grounds. We will start with truth and truthfulness. Now, to speak truthfully is to accurately represent one's belief or perceptions, which may or may not be true. Now, let me give you an example. Some years ago, my nieces watched a show called 那些年我们一起追的女孩. My sister saw them happily discussing the show. Although she did not listen to their conversation, she assumed the show has a happy ending, as the poster showed happy faces and blue skies. So when I asked her whether the show has a good ending, she told me Yes, she knows that I will not waste my time watching sad shows. Well, the show had a bad ending. Boy meets girl, they fell in love. A beautiful love story, only to have her marry someone else at the last part. You see, my sister was speaking truthfully, but it was not true. Now, do you understand the difference between truth and truthfulness? So it's always good to double check the facts first. For example, believing that there is only one life and that a person will spend his afterlife eternally in heaven, cause of a belief and faith, is something that we cannot confirm in this life, right? But the problem is here, and in many situations in our life, is that when we hear or see something that we like, that falls in line with our prejudices, or fits into our view of what things should be, we have a tendency to accept it blindly, even eagerly. We believe or assume that that's the way things are because that's what we want to believe. And the more tenuous the belief, the more we cling to it. Now, even the truth can deceive. Now, the term for this is called paltering. We may all have done this at one time or other in the past. Like, for example, a mother asks a son whether he has finished his homework, and he answers, I have written the composition for my English class. Now, this may be true, but that was yesterday's homework, so the statement was calculated to deceive. Sam Harris, in his book, publicized in 2011, said that if he could stand in front of the White House and call the headquarters of Facebook saying, hello, this is Sam Harris. I'm calling from the White House and I would like to speak to Mark Zuckerberg. His words would, in a narrow sense, be true. It is not a direct lie, but a deliberate lie. Now, it is both easy and difficult to tell the truth. Easy, because you do not need any effort, creativity, or imagination. But difficult when the truth can hurt a person's feelings or create a very awkward or embarrassing situation for him. And because of it, white lies are born. Now, a dictionary defines a white lie as an often diplomatic, well-intended untruth. A white lie, sometimes called a benevolent lie, because it is intended to benefit the person deceived for no ulterior motive. And it keeps a person from suffering unnecessarily because of something he can do nothing about. It's a well-intentioned lie. Other less common norms include these descriptions: paternalistic lie, pro-social lie. Actually, this need for little white lies to avoid hurting others is something that most of us view as the right thing to do. And studies have shown that people who feel compassion for others seem remarkably prone towards lying, whether to avoid hurting other people's feelings or to promote their welfare. So, ironically, the more compassionate we feel for someone, the more we care for someone, the more prone we are to white lies. The question is, how far are we likely to go with this kind of benevolent deception? So we will look at some scenarios which seems to justify white lies, try to come up with answers or comments that are truthful or as close to the truth as possible. May need some ingenuity. It would help to bear in mind the preferences of these people. The first one, he wants honesty. To give the person any less because he wants to separate him would be to count his comfort and well-being more important than what he himself professes to value more. Okay. The second one, reassurance. This usually happens to common questions like, do I look fat? Was my performance okay? All right. And the last category is actually also very common. There is no perfect answer, brothers and sisters. Of course, the best answer is the one that satisfies all three preferences. Now, I will give you the scenarios and the suggested answers will be given next week when we pull everything together. Case 1. Husband asks wife this. All right. Assume that Paul is very looking and the wife finds him attractive and the husband noticed her looking at him. Now, how should the wife answer? What do you think is his preference? P1, 2, or 3? I'll give you something to think about it. Note it down. Case number 2. You receive a really, really awful gift. How will you answer? What do you think is the preference of the giftor? Case number 3. Your friend and her boyfriend broke up. She is very hopeful of getting back with him. You know they are painfully incompatible and he is not good for her. One day you overheard the ex-boyfriend telling someone that he is ready to start over if she gives him the sign. Unfortunately, after that incident, your friend decides to ask you this. What should you say? What do you think is her preference? Case number 4. Now this is difficult. Well, you know Ah Sing very well. And Ah Sing feels that it is important to always live in the full knowledge of the truth. Assume that Ah Sing is a practicing Buddhist. Ah Sing is against all kinds of deception and fake comforts, all right, that comes along with it. Now let's assume that Ah Sing's wife cheated on him, and you know this for a fact. And further assume that Ah Sing's wife has just died. Sometime later on, you both met up and he asks you this. And he looks to you for confirmation. What do you say? P1, P2, or P3? Case number 5. The woman is diagnosed with a terminal illness. The doctor told the husband and the children the truth. What should they tell the woman? Case number 6. The person is on his deathbed. He asks you a question. The truth is something that will cause him emotional distress. What do you tell him? Case number 7. Your friend comes to your house and seek refuge because someone wants to physically harm her or even kill her. You hide her, and soon after, the potential friend appears at your doorstep and asks whether the friend is in your home. Now, what do you say? Just now when I said potential friend, I actually mean potential murderer, but it's just a suspicion. So just assume that the potential murderer comes. So before we tell a white lie, no matter how harmless it appears to be, the intention behind the lie, as well as the nature of the benefit to be gained, must be weighed. And we also have to consider whether such lies are potentially more damaging than the truth in the long run, as it often is. Also, when we lie to spare the feeling of others or to protect someone, is that our true objective? Or because we want our lie to maintain the other person's good opinion of us or like us better? Or is it a case of being confronted with a difficult situation and telling a white lie is the easiest way out of it? So I would like you to ask yourself, exactly how selfless are you? Then we have the blue lies, which is an offshoot of the white lies, lying in the name of the collective good or lying on behalf of the group to gain advantage over another group. Such lies are frequently told in business, politics, sports, and many other areas of human life. In other words, blue lies are a product of an individual's attempt to meet the complex demands of an adult society. We will address this again in the last section, which is next week. Importance of honesty. The Buddha is famous for refusing to take a position on many of the controversial issues of the day, such as whether the cosmos is finite or infinite, eternal or not. There was one issue on which the Buddha's position was very clear. What kind of deeds are skillful and what kind of deeds are not? And the Buddha drew very sharp lines in making this distinction. Where did he draw the line with honesty? In the Balatika Rahula Vachasutta, the Buddha counseled Rahula, his son, who is a novice monk, on the danger of lying by using the simile of the water vessel. Rahula, do you see this little bit of water left in the water vessel? Yes, Venerable Sir. Even so little, Rahula, is the recluseship of those who are not ashamed to tell a deliberate lie. The little bit of water is the water vessel, represents the low level of trustworthiness of a person who is not ashamed to tell an intentional lie. Then the Buddha threw away the little water that was left and asked his son, which means that those who tell an intentional lie throws away any trustworthiness, even if they have very little to begin with. Then the Buddha turned the water vessel upside down and he asked, by turning the vessel upside down, the Buddha demonstrated to Rahula that a person who lied turned his life upside down. In other words, lies can overturn everything in your life, causing disruption, leading to confusion, or even destruction of things as you know and you are familiar with. Then the Buddha turned the vessel right up again and asked his son, this is to show that empty is a person who tells an intentional lie, empty of right values, of integrity, of trustworthiness. Then Buddha impressed on Rahula the importance of not lying. even in jest. And telling a lie as a joke, isn't it the most trivial kind of lie? A lie of least value or least harm? So, if the Buddha did not approve of such lies, do you think he would approve of white lies? Now, this discourse was delivered to Rahula as a novice monk. If you have read some of his discourses, the Buddha gave to his disciples, you will find that the monks were encouraged to maintain their mental cultivation throughout the day, practicing mindfulness, exercising sense restraint, taking refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, and be skillful in thoughts, actions, and speeches. Compared to lay people, it is therefore much easier for monks to practice right speech, as they have renounced the mundane world with all its comforts, distractions, problems, and complexities, and their focus in life is to attain liberation. As such, the Buddha's lesson on abstinence from falsehood does appear exceedingly harsh and even rigid to an ordinary person. If we have confidence and trust in the Buddha's teachings, it is important that we adhere to right speech as best as we can, or else we will always fall back on our own benchmark of what is right, what is reasonable or justifiable. And we will judge everyone by this same benchmark, which means that the level of dishonesty which we cannot condone in another person is one that is higher than ours, and the level of dishonesty that we cannot condone is one which is lower than ours. So what about extenuating circumstances? Can we then move away from the guidelines? If cannot, but we still deviate, what will happen to us? On that note, let us revisit these questions, and I'm sure you can answer them now. This last question. Any act of dishonesty is never harmless to the person who does it. All right? It is still unwholesome. Now, any kind of intentional action, whether mental, verbal, or physical, is regarded as karma. Karma means action. Intention includes will, choice, or decision. All right? The mental impetus that leads to action. In fact, as the Buddha said this, it is intention because that I call karma. For having willed, one acts by body, speech, and mind. As long as you have the intention to deceive, you have committed an unwholesome action or unwholesome karma which will bear fruit in this life or in subsequent life. Right? Next week, I will cover the last two topics together with Q&A, but I'm open to questions today.
Okay, brothers and sisters, if for those who are joining us via YouTube or Facebook, you can also post your questions in your respective channel, and our Zoom administrator will repost it in our chat group. I think we already have a few questions, Sister Siew Fong. I'll read out the first one. Sister Siew Fong, can you unmute? We can't hear you.
All right. Okay.
All right. Okay, Sister Siew Fong, certain people, example politicians, lie so much that they themselves believe in their own lies. The question, if lying becomes a habit, but that person is not fully aware he has the intention to lie, will that action break the fourth precept?
First and foremost, there is truthfulness and truth. All right. If the politician says something which he believes to be true, it is not a breach of the precept. Okay. But it goes back to the intention. Yes. Yeah, I hope. Yes. Next question.
Next question is actually from Facebook. Is it better to be silent or avoid responding to situations that may force us to lie to save ourselves or others? Is that a form of escapism or hypocrisy by not facing or handling the situations, even though lying is a good way to solve the problems?
Can you give me a scenario? If you need to lie to save a person's life, by all means, because I think we need to weigh, all right? But what kind of scenarios are you talking about? Lying is a good way to solve problems. That is not the only option, is it? What kind of problems are we looking at? Remember the 6 scenarios that I have given you for you to ponder over? I will give you the answer next week. But if you have a specific question for me with a specific scenario, I will be able to assist.
I think the question is actually from Facebook, so they won't be able to participate in this Zoom.
Oh, okay. Hopefully she can type out. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I think we move on to the next question first. Yeah. Okay. Hi, sister. If we found out our loved one lied to us, should we pretend nothing happened and move on? If not, how do we confront them so that it won't end up in a quarrel?
If a loved ones, I presume one in the family, all right? I do not know what's the scenario. Like, for example, I have my niece who is staying with me right now, and she lies because she doesn't want to tell me where she went. I gave her a curfew, but sometimes she will tell, oh, I'm studying and all that. And I know she is actually lying. And I will tell her, don't lie to me, because morality is very important. I do not want her to think that by lying, she can get away. So I will call her out and say, don't lie. Yeah, but let's say, for example, you need to give me a scenario, then I will be able to assist. Now, the difficulty is between husband and wife. And in situations where my female clients found the husband cheating, and he had lied to her for quite some time, and she found out that he cheated, and so she confronted him about it, and he still lied. And when confronted with the evidence, he confessed and asked for another chance and apologized. All right, and ultimately, my client did not want to reconcile, not because of the act itself, because the husband apologized and said he would not commit. It was because of the lies. Trust was gone. And even though, and when she confronted the husband about the lies previously, and he justified it and rationalized it by saying he didn't want to break the marriage, he was just cheating and he didn't want to be caught, so he lied. And that perturbed my client. This is just an example, but for many cases, lies destroy the relationship because of the trust. Yes. So call out, and to ensure that, especially in the family, as one based on honesty, as real as it gets among loved ones. Yes. I hope I've answered your question. No more questions?
Any other questions, brothers and sisters? Please feel free to type in the chat. Or if you want to do some sharing, you can also unmute. There is one. Sister, in business communication, lies is common as trust on the opposite side is very faint. What is your opinion on this?
Actually, I don't agree with this statement. Okay, let's say, for example, what makes a good salesperson? Okay, a good salesperson is one who believes in his product and able to sell and talk about his product sincerely, and that connects. So next time when the customer wants something again, she will think about that salesperson because she trusts him. Now, I'm a lawyer, and the perception, rightly or wrongly, is that lawyers do lie. Now, all I can do is tell you this. Clients who want me to lie for them, I don't act. Clients who lie on affidavit, all right, if I know about it, I tell him that is not acceptable. So I have a choice, and it doesn't affect my business. I can tell you I'm running the biggest family department in the whole of Singapore. And this is the ethos, all right, I insist on in my department. And we're talking about 13 specialist lawyers just in my department alone. So we always have a choice. I'm not sure about business communication, but I believe that when you do business one-to-one or group, it's all about integrity and trust, right? Who wants to do business with someone we don't trust, right? If you know your business associate lied to you once, would you want to have any contact with him again? You hold him at arm's length because you don't like to be deceived, do you not? Yeah? Yes. Okay, I look at the next.
Yeah, okay. In the corporate scenario, if we were instructed by our superior to deliver an ingenuine message to a third party, is this considered breaking the precept of false speech?
Now, you can deliver a message and focus on the truth and present it in a way that is palatable to your boss. If you can give me more details, I can help. You see, whether it's sincere or non-sincere message is one thing, but when you're talking and selling something to a third party, and you can say this, I am instructed to convey a message by this person, and you ensure that it's not you saying it. That is one way. I'm just conveying a message from my boss. He wants me to tell you this, then it's fine. Does that answer your question? Does that help? Yeah.
Yes. Yes, okay. She replied, yes, that's good.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Any other questions? Or if you have any sharing, you can also unmute.
Yes.
And share with us. Yeah.
Yeah. It's nice to see your faces. I'm just looking at the blank screen with the names. Yeah.
Later, we will invite everyone to turn on their camera and we have.
It's okay if you're comfortable. Yeah. Fine. If you're not comfortable, doesn't matter, right? Because yeah, I can understand it's very early in the morning, and some of you may be still in pajamas.
Yeah. I forgot to turn on mine too. Yeah, all right.
You know, many years ago, I remember where there was this insurance agent, like it was like maybe 25, 26 years ago. He wanted to sell me insurance. Well, I didn't want to meet her because I was, how long was that ago? I didn't think I need any. So anyway, she came and she was telling me about insurance, and I was very moved by her sincerity. And she herself owned a lot because she really believes in insurance. Although on the balance of probability, none of the things she says will happen. You know, so insurance about working on people's fear and anxiety for the future. But because I was so impressed by the way she was selling, I remember I bought, even though I didn't believe in it. Okay, yeah. So can you imagine when you when you are sincere and honest and you sell a product that way? That's when connections are made between people. Yeah.
Yeah.
So always go on the basis of truth. It will help in your work. It will help. That's the reason, remember, if you listen to divisive speech, all right?
Yes.
Divisive speech will not happen. In your mind, it's about, hey, I must adhere to the truth. All right. So if I say this, it will harm. Okay. The foundation is still honesty, isn't it? So if you hear the truth, you find it so much easier to not speak divisively. And if let's say, for example, someone asked you, your boss asked you, I want to promote this person to this place. I'm not sure about this colleague. I'm not sure about your colleague. I want your opinion. Okay. Now, you speak the truth. All right. You don't want false speech. So how do you speak it? So you say, all right, this position requires the person to have leadership qualities, to be very tough, and to be very sociable to entertain clients. And I think this colleague may not be ready yet. When you say like that, can you see no divisive speech and no false speech? All good. That's why skill comes in. Skills means, skillful means you always remember in divisive speech as well as, because I do chatter, I talk about pausing before you talk. So always pause. Ajahn Sucito always loves say 10 seconds. So we pause and think, practice the Dhamma. It's all about practice, not about studying, and then speak. Okay.
Okay.
So there are questions.
Yeah, questions coming in already. In avoiding false speech, sometimes remain silent with no answers would be a way, but it appears rude to others. How?
You can say things like, actually, I'm not sure a scenario where, yeah, that is in idle chatter where I talk about you always have a choice not to talk. The best speaker is an active listener. Okay, everybody wants to talk. Nobody really wants to sit down and listen, right? So if someone calls you, you think that your friend calls you to hear you talk. Your friend calls you because she wants to talk, and you will empathize with her and validate her feelings. So people talk, you listen, you give active listening. Okay, you can, yeah, it's not that you don't talk. You can express acknowledgement of her concerns and acknowledgement of her feelings by nodding your head. If they ask for your comments, you said, I don't have any comments. I have no thoughts about it. You know, you shrug. You know, you don't have to engage. So I think this is about idle chatter, right? It's not rude. It's not rude. You are still part of the group. You are with them, all right? Understanding and connecting and listening to them, but you are not participating in false speech. That is right speech. Remember, right speech is not just about what you say, but how you act, because both comes from how you think. So it's also in your facial expression. So let's say, for example, it's not like when your friends are talking, you go like, that is judgment. You're judging. You don't have metta. Metta is a mind that does not judge. So you don't go like, you just listen. This face. You don't have to say anything. They know that you are engaged.
Yeah, in a way to remain neutral.
Yes. Yeah, in a way to remain neutral. That's what I did last night. I went to celebrate two friends' birthday, and they were talking about this lawyer and that lawyer. Let me tell you, I only talk 1% of the time. The food is really good. That's all I said. And all the time they were both talking. You know, we were just, I was nodding, acknowledging what they say. But well, you know, people come together, talk about other people, and the legal circle, a lot of people to talk about. It's just the mundane world. Yeah.
Okay. I think the next one is from YouTube. And
yeah.
What does the sister find useful in terms of her meditation practice?
Oh, yeah. Now, when you are meditating, right, you are slowing, you are increasing the mental muscles. Don't talk about resting the mind or all that. Let's talk about increasing the mental muscles. When your mental muscles are developed, what will happen is that you're able to control your thoughts, exercise restraint very well. For example, you don't want to drink. Okay, for someone who hasn't have enough mindfulness, right, straight away the temptation arises and you drink. Correct? Now, for a meditator, because you hold to your precepts and you understand craving comes from the mind and you're able to let go. Mind controls thoughts and not control mind. See? So to me, it's so much easier to hold on to your 5 precepts. For the ladies, for example, you go shopping, right? The moment you see this dress, oh, very nice. See again, very nice. Next thing, go in, buy, right? So you comfort and rationalize it is therapy, retail therapy. But then, shopping, buy what you need. Don't buy what you want, because there's no end to one thing. Okay? So because you know that, because you meditate, you got that mindfulness, you need to hold back and then able to think and don't run with the thoughts. So when you do meditation, what will happen is you will find your mindfulness, sati, becomes stronger and stronger as mind controls thoughts and not the other way around, thoughts control mind. And a lot of people live life in accordance with the impact the thoughts have on their mind. Okay? Char kway teow right in front, eat, even though it's like not nutritious, and 2 strands of vegetables, and just lots of calorie and oil. Yeah. So, but temptations. So meditation practice is very important. Protect this mind. This mind, life to life. This body only one life. And a lot of people put so much emphasis on the body, bathed it, exercised it, moisturized it, even go to Korea to do works on the face. So can you imagine? So the emphasis should be mind and not body. So if you spend 10 minutes a day bathing, spend 10 minutes at least a day meditating. Okay, start that way.
Okay. I think the next question is actually related to the first one, the earlier question on this business communication. So this brother is saying, sister, I can agree to your statement, but difficult in practice of certain sectors and selling products may be quite different. But agree that we should have high integrity in business dealing.
Okay, this is what you do. Let's say, for example, you have to sell a product. Look for something that you like in the product. It cannot be all bad, right? Or else the business will not be making money, So you look for what you really like in that product and talk about the likes, talk about the goods. Like, okay, this is what is good. This can do this. You're not lying. So when you sell certain things, when clients ask you about the problems that may arise, you can answer this way. Well, this part may have certain challenges, but it's the same for other products too, isn't it? But it's something that but based on track record, again, track record is based on truth. Based on track record, this product has sold pretty well, right? So please don't go into an industry where you absolutely hate what you're selling. Then you really have to lie, lor. Then quit and find another job. Yeah.
Okay. I think we take one last question for this morning. How do we react to harsh and sarcastic speech?
What the person say, you must understand that when a person is sarcastic and harsh, that person has a lot of aversion and unhappy at the moment. So what he says, he wants to hit out at you. All right. Now, when a person is actually on fire, like a log on fire, right? The fire cannot burn forever. After a while, the fire dies off. All right. So what we do is we don't pour oil. So if the person is harsh and sarcastic, you give him 3 times back, you're pouring oil, then explosion, and both get angry and both suffer. If you let the fire burn on its own, either you don't reply and say, I'll talk to you after you come down. Okay. If you have skill, you pour water. And that water, yen, is actually metta. Metta means a mind that's not judgmental. So if someone says that to you, depending on the situation, right, use metta. Calm the person down. Understand there's always an interest underlying opposition. Interest underlying opposition. Okay, what is the interest of that person saying it? Then you're able to reply accordingly. Now, you did give me an example, so I can't give you a reply, but I give you husband and wife. Imagine the wife just given birth, sitting at a hospital bed. All right. And she waited for the husband to come. Now, imagine the husband cannot take time off, and he was working very hard so that she could rush to the hospital to see the wife. Okay. He finally finished work and he rushed to the hospital. to be greeted by a very angry wife with a lot of unhappiness on her face, and she just says, "Why are you so late? Do you know I've been waiting for you the whole day?" And now, if you are a practicing Buddhist that have been meditating, you come down first, understand she's suffering, because when people suffer, no wisdom, rubbish comes out of the mouth. You come down, pause 10 seconds, and unsee what is the interest behind the position. The interest is she wants you to be with her. Her interest is that she loves you. She has expectation, right? So you come down and you see the interest, and then you respond, "I'm sorry, you know I love you very much, right?" Guarantee that's all she needs. Everything fine. Okay, so I'm giving you a typical example, okay? But unless you can give me a scenario, I'll be able to help you. All right, so always pause.
Okay, thank you for the advice. One final question. Yeah, the 20-year-old child flunked his college exam due to lack of diligence. Do we tell the child the truth?
Of course, you tell the child the truth in such a way that that will not harm his self-esteem. Don't tell him you did your best, you're very good. Don't say things like that. I think the child know about the truth. He's seeking comfort. You just say him, look, you are intelligent, all right? But in this case, I think you did not put in enough effort. But don't worry, we try again. You don't have to tell lies. You can tell a truth with kindness. Yes. Okay. That looks like the last question.
Yes.
Okay, so brothers and sisters, I see you next week to finish up the last 2 sections, which I feel actually the most important. Yes. So this week, the reason why I talk so much about the statistics on lying, white lies, blue lies, the reason is I want to just let people know this. People lie and they don't know they're lying. People lie sometimes and think they are justified to lie and to rationalize. Now, lying equates it is about dishonesty, and honesty is the foundation for morality. And without morality, that being the foundation for spiritual progress, all right, then it's very, very hard for us to progress spiritually. So if you habitually lie and rationalize, mind very noisy, very hard to sit down and cultivate this mind. Okay, in a nutshell. Okay.